Welcome back to the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and if you've watched my channel at all, you'll know that I'm an avid collector of these third-party Masterpiece Transformers, and there's nothing like this in any collecting spectrum out there. There is no franchise that has 30 to 100 different companies fighting to make figures, to make product. Even in the Star Wars world, has licensed products getting made, and of course some knockoffs. But I'm here today to talk to you about Transformer third-party companies that are unlicensed, and yet it's accepted by many to buy those third-party products, but it's not okay and not accepted by a lot of people to buy knockoffs. So the first thing I want to do is define the difference. Now, I've made a video talking about knockoffs. This was one point that I didn't elaborate on very well, and I think it's time to elaborate on this very well. The thing is that knockoffs are exact copies. Someone made a figure and then someone else took it and copied it exactly. They made piece by piece. You could pull a piece off the knockoff and snap it on to the official, and vice versa. That is what a knockoff is. Now, sometimes the knockoffs are oversized, sometimes they're undersized. They change them slightly, because this day and age, the knockoffs are all done through digital files. And if you've ever 3D printed, or even, I guess, heard of the concept of 3D printing, it's very simple to do these days, compared to 20, 30 years ago. This day, it's really easy these days. But anyhow, it's the same kind of idea. It's all done digitally, and then they make the molds and all that stuff based on that. And so they can upsize it, downsize it very easily. That's a knockoff. Third party is other companies making an item that looks like Optimus Prime, or looks like a character from the Transformers world, or looks like a different franchise that they don't have the rights to make. So today I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to talk about why it's accepted, third parties accepted, and KO is not by some. Many people like the KOs. I'm going to talk about IP infringement. I'm talking about the workarounds they do. I'm going to talk about the good that comes with third parties. Talk about the bad that comes along with third parties. And then I'm going to talk about a little bit about KO and the future of KO. So let's get right into this. First off, the IP infringement is a thing. It really is a thing. It really is infringing on Takara and Hasbro's IP. They created this Transformers, the show, the lore, the character names, and all of this stuff. And so when you make a figure that, and you're copying the likeness, you're making something that looks exactly like their intellectual property, which is what IP stands for, then that technically is illegal. Like, you are stealing that. You are copying them. And they could shut it down. And if this was going on in the U.S., if U.S. companies were making third-party figures and putting them out, like Fans Toys does, like X-Transbots does, like MMC does, those companies would get shut down in a heartbeat. It's because they operate in other countries that the laws are different. Lucky for us, it goes on and we can get our hands on them for a reasonable price. So, stealing the likeness or copying the likeness, that is the first one. Next, so it sounds similar, but it's not their own design. Like, it's not their own character design. It's their own figure design, and how they get from one mode to the other is theirs. But the design, the likeness, is not theirs. Now, that's infringing. Like, it sounds the same. It's about the same. These points are similar, but like Fans Toys looks like it just walked off the screen. Bad Cube tried. They tried to make their own designs that were not based on Transformers, but it was a transforming figure. Like, it transformed from one thing to another, but it didn't catch on. It's not like that's taking off, and people are loving that. They like these, and we like these, and we collect them because of the intellectual property, because of the Transformers. It's not because it's just a robot that transforms from one thing to another. And that in itself is infringing. The fact that Bad Cube failed shows why it's so important to have an intellectual property behind these things. Well, next up, let's talk about the workarounds and how are they getting away with it? How does third party get away with it and continue to get away with it? Which I want them to continue to get away with it, if you know what I mean. So the first thing is that they name them something different. So every single figure comes out, it's named different than the actual character. And it's creative, and it's almost to the point like, what are they gonna name this, 88th figure they make? What are they gonna call this? What's FT50? What are the names coming out? It's just interesting how Kronos, Quietus, Phoenix, where do they come up with all these? Transistor. It is extremely creative. Undress. They come up with all these names. Coot. And most of the time, the names truly do match the characters very well. It's really interesting how these third-party companies can do that. But they don't come out and say, this is my Optimus Prime. This is Optimus Prime. Now, there actually was one, I don't even remember who it was. There was one that came out and straight up named their figure what the actual name was, and I never got in trouble. It was funny, but they didn't make it very far. But even Omnigonics made up their own name of Spinout, which that was interesting. Also, third-party companies make their own packaging, so I've never seen a third-party company directly steal packaging from Takara. What they do, though, like Fans Toys looks similar, but if you put them side by side, you could tell, oh, that's definitely not a Takara. So, and then X-Transbots has some similarities to like a mix between a Masterpiece and a G1. So, it's kind of interesting how they do it. And then MMC does its own thing. Like and then DX9 definitely does it. You look like you're tripping on acid or something when you're looking at a DX9 box or something like that. But it's crazy how the packaging it's just so vastly different, and it's so wild. And actually, none of them really follow any sort of rules or anything when it comes to packaging. They just do whatever they want, which is better than stealing it. They could take an outline of exactly how Takara does theirs and just put their figure on it and their symbol and all this. I mean, they could go that far and probably still get away with it, but they don't. And I think that's a good thing. I'm a package collector too, so it means a lot to me to have interesting looking packaging. The other thing is that this isn't really sort of a workaround, but they include a lot of accessories that Takara doesn't or wouldn't. Like just recently, just blows my mind that we've got a beach ball and a bucket and a pail and a shovel as an accessory with a transformer. But hey, we got it. So I don't know if Takara would ever put something like that in there, but that was interesting. I don't really know if that's my favorite accessory in the world, but hey, they do it. But I never see, and maybe I'm not looking in the right place, but I never see third-party companies use the term masterpiece. Now, people describe them as masterpiece and masterpiece scale, but I never see them say the masterpiece scale, because I know that Takara started the whole masterpiece line, but I don't see companies out and out say it. Now, we in the community say it all the time. We in the community call Fans Toys Rouge, we say, oh, Fans Toys RC. We just call her RC. Fans Toys doesn't call her RC, they call her Rouge. So that's one of the things that they walk that line, and they know where to cross it and where not to. So let's say some of the good things that third party does for the community. And first of all, they do give Takara some competition. So they come out with figures and concepts and ideas on transformations and paint apps and just show you this is what a figure could look like. And it could still transform. Now, I have to say that 90% of the time, maybe 60% of the time, I don't know. Takaras are usually, they're complicated, but they're more intuitive than some of the third parties. But some of the third parties have come out recently, X-Transbot, blown out of the park with their transformations. And hey, these third parties all challenge Takara. And Takara just gets better. And they up the ante, whether it's the aesthetic, whether it's the paint, whatever it is. And that's good, because competition is always good. And if it wasn't for these third parties, there'd be no competition at all. It would just be KOs. KOing official. The next thing is the lower priced offerings. Now, this didn't used to be the story. Third party used to be an expensive premium because of the low production numbers that were ran, and then having to import it and all of this. And at the time when you think about the early days, like the Quake waves and all that, and you think about even back then how you were spending, $160 to $200. Like I spent $184 on my Fans Toys Swoop first run, pre-ordered it and all that stuff. But that was a lot of money. But you got to think about the time value of money. It's looking like more like $220 these days for just time value of money on that thing. And so with that, that's a lot of savings that you've got nowadays. Nowadays they're making them cheaper. They're getting cheaper. I've seen most of these bigger bots, you can get them for like $130. And there's no way you're getting that from Takara. So you do have lower priced options out there. Just like with MP44. Now we have Transform Element and Magic Square. And we've already got them on the shelf. And then it's really hard for someone to go, well, this $450 Optimus Prime's coming out, and I think it looks 20% better than the one on the shelf, so I'm on it. It's hard for people to think like that, and that does hurt Takara. The other thing is the more options, like just with the Optimus Primes we talk about, more options are out there, but it's not just the Optimus Prime. Third party, really, their role is to make the obscure characters that Takara's not going to bother with. Because Takara's not going to make every character out there, and if they did, we'd be dead before it's done. Because it would take so long. Because each figure takes so long. So when you think about it, that's why having 30 or so third-party companies making different figures and different characters and filling those slots for us is what we need. And so more offerings, the better. Now, not more offering the better for your wallet, though, because it does get expensive and it adds up over time. And I have to say that 6 or 8 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be buying a Masterpiece figure every month. To me, it was an annual thing. And now it's turning into almost a monthly, if sometimes a couple times a month thing. And that does add up. Okay, so let's say it's got a couple of bad points with third party. I'm not bashing third party, but this is just a reality of the world that we live in. The fact that it's a negative that they do take market share away from Takara. That's duh, right? There are a lot of people that are not going to get MP44 because they're satisfied with Transform Element, or they're satisfied with their Magic Square, or even their MP10KO, which that's a whole different story. It has nothing to do with third party. But I have to say that this didn't exist when MP10 came out. This was not an option, an issue. So we're in a different world, a different time, and a different expectation from collectors. Because back in 2012, you didn't have Transform Element, you didn't have Magic Square, so it was highly sought after to get that MP10. That thing jumped in price, tripled in price. And I actually, because I'm a cheap budget collector, just waited until I found a broken one for like $100. And then I fixed it, and that was mine until I got a re-release. And that's it. That's how I dealt with it. But with this now, the MP44 is going to come out now. Is that thing going to sell out? Yes, it's still going to sell out. It's just going to take longer than it used to. But it still takes market share away from the Takara. And I think Takara monitors that. They don't do another run until the first ones sell out, and then they start planning their next run. I think that's how it works. I can't verify that, but from the appearance of the release schedules, that looks like how it works. The next thing is, third party is probably going to take a huge blame for the price increase with Takara. Takara hasn't come out and said why the price is going high. I haven't said that at all, but it looks like because they're losing market share to these third-party companies that's a pretty fair, safe bet. That's why they are not keeping their prices where they were. But yeah, plastic goes up and international currency exchange rates change and all this stuff. That's not it. I truly feel like they're making less of their products, just kind of like Bandai did, or just like Fans Toys does. They make what they think is going to get sold, and they don't want extra on the shelf. And I don't know. There may not be an excess of MP44. They may They may just make what's there and make it a rare item. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see here in a few days. But I guarantee you, if we could find insider information from someone at Takara, they would say third party is a big cause of price increases because they make less of their figures because they don't think their figures will sell. Well, who wants to make an item that's just going to sit on a shelf forever? And now, coincidentally, the future of KO. I want to talk quick about the future of KOs, and I did put out a video back a few months back, a while ago, but it was saying the end of KO, and KO did stall for a while, and I think that Hasbro and Takara have enough strength together to eliminate, or not completely eliminate, but slow down KOs. But they'll never ever completely eliminate it. They're always going to try. But I see upcoming knockoffs of MP44, just like they did with the Megatron. Now, I think Prime is a much more sought after character than Megatron, and I think that there will be a lot more of these little KO companies popping up making Prime. And the reason is because that's what happened with MP10, but it took 2 years. It's not like it happened a week later. Now with the Megatrons, it took about 10 months, so I'm expecting these sometime in July, so that'll be your 4th of July present. But July of next year. So that's when the MP44s come out. But if you look at the release schedule for the rest of the year, we also get some Beast Wars stuff, which Beast Wars has gotten one real knockoff. I haven't seen other knockoffs. And the prices are still reasonable on the Beast Wars stuff for the most part, for the smaller figures. The bigger ones are just ridiculous. So those are the ones that'll definitely get KO'd. But when you look at what else we're going to get, Bumblebee, he's going to get KO'd left and right. He'll probably get KO'd in a red. And then there's going to be Hound at the end of the year, and that'll probably get KO'd too. But this is going to take 6, 8, 10 months. 10 months is the timeline on those KOs. So anyway, what do you guys think about all of this fun stuff? What do you think about third-party KOs? Do you think that third-party is just fine and KO is bad? Do you think third-party and KO are both bad? You're only Takara, which I have met 2 or 3 people like that, by the way. And there's nothing wrong if that's your belief. Or do you believe bring on any third-party, any KO, and KO a third-party like Make Toys? Like, subscribe. Tiberium Hanger out.